Welcome to the course Introductory Agro-Meteorology and Climate Change. The course code is AGRI2018. So today this is a part of Unit 2 and we are going to discuss about the atmospheric weather variables, and here our topic is about the wind. Okay, in the previous lecture I have discussed about the atmospheric weather variable. Important one was the pressure, that how pressure is varies from height when we are going away from the earth atmosphere. Now we are looking the whole thing aspects from the wind, because wind is also very important if we look in terms of the agriculture, that how the wind conditions affect the crops, their production in terms of quality and quantity. Now, if we recall the previous lecture, in the previous lecture I have discussed about the atmospheric variables, that what are the atmospheric variables. That is, one was the pressure, wind. I can also talk in terms of the temperature, and if we look at the micro level, we can go for the density also. So in the previous lecture I have discussed the atmospheric pressure and its variation with height. I have discussed about the absolute pressure, gas pressure and vacuum pressure. These are the different terminology to define the pressure. Okay, absolute pressure is the pressure that where we set our datum. Okay, where we have set our datum, that suppose that we have fixed our datum at 0, and the atmospheric pressure, if we are measuring directly from that, that is absolute pressure, and the pressure below to the atmospheric pressure is known as the vacuum pressure, and pressure above that atmospheric pressure is known as the gas pressure. So these are the different terminology in terms of the pressures that we are using into the engineering. So these are about the recap of the class, that we have seen that how or one variable, atmospheric variable pressure, and about its variation with the height, and different terminology with the pressures. Now the objective for the today class, we will study that what is the wind, what are the type of winds. We will look for the daily and seasonal variation of the wind speed. Okay, that in the daily way or in the seasonal way, when we have the data, we can forecast that what will be the wind condition during a even for the short period of time and even for the long period of time. So the farming can be think in that way to negotiate the effect that is harmful is minimum and optimize our desired variables. Okay, so daily and seasonal variation data is important regarding the wind speed. Then we will look see the cyclone and anticyclone, and then we will also see about the land breeze and sea breeze. They are nothing but they are the periodic winds, but we will focus on a little bit more about these two type of winds and what is their importance in terms of this course. So let's talk about the wind. What is the wind? So there are many definitions that we can define in terms of technology, but you all know and that what is the wind. Okay, you know there is no need to define the definition of the wind, but let us go through what are the technical definitions of the wind and what are the important outcomes about this. So wind, the earth is a constant battle to equalize its temperature. Okay, you know that the different part of the earth has different your temperature zone. So wind is a constant battle that always try to make the uniform temperature throughout. It never succeeds. Obviously, if it succeeds, the temperature of the whole earth system will be the same, but it is not like that even in India. And when we look within the 200 kilometer or 300 kilometer, there is a change in the temperature. So wind always try to make equalize the temperature of the earth system, but it never succeed because our planet is hotter in some places than the others. What about the second point is, then wind patterns, Earth's air is always on the move. Okay, that is cool air sinks. Cool air sinks means the density is high, warm air rises, density is low, and due to this difference, they form the convection current. Okay, convection means That is, it's a one mode of transfer of heat from the low, or we can say high temperature zone to low temperature zone. Okay. The third point is wind is the movement of air as a result of different air pressure. So due to the different air pressure in two different zones, okay, the wind is flows from one location to another. The greater the pressure difference, the stronger the wind caused by unequal heating of the earth. So these are some technical definitions and outcomes regarding the wind. Now let's see what are the type of wind. So type of wind, the first one is the planetary wind, then your trade wind, then rise, then periodic wind, and then local wind. And if we go into the periodic wind, that comes out monsoon wind, land breeze, sea breeze, mountain and valley breeze. Okay, so these are the classification of the different type of the wind, in which we will see the land breeze and sea breeze, which are kind of periodic wind into lecture. Now let's try to understand that what is the uneven heating between equator and pole. Here you can see in the diagram, this is the north pole, this is the south pole, and between the north and south pole how the temperature varies, that we have seen in also in the one lecture, and we will try to find out that why there is an uneven heating between north pole and equator, and or you can say between pole and equator. So the equatorial and tropical regions close to the equator get the maximum heat from the sun. Okay, they got the maximum exposure, hence they get hotter than the polar regions. Okay, the air surrounding this region gets heated up, and due to the heat its density go lower and rises to create a vacuum. Cooler air from the poles rushes to fill the vacuum. The wind does not flow in the north-south direction because a change in direction is caused by the rotation of the earth. So that's the reason why there is uneven heating between the equator and poles. So equator areas are get too much exposure to the sun and they got heated, and due to heated the density get low and pressure gets high in comparison to pressure gets low in comparison to the north pole. So there is a creation of vacuum. So the heavier here, which are the more denser from the north pole or south pole region, they flow or they move towards the equator. Okay, due to this temperature difference or the pressure difference, it's happened and movement of air is happening. Now you can see in this diagram that is flow of air between the equator and poles. Now let's see what is uneven heating between land and sea. So you can see here, this is the sea breeze. Okay, so the air is coming from there, going up, getting warm, 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 again return to the flow, then they cool and again go to the sea. Okay, so sea water gets heated more slowly as compared to land. As the temperature of the land rises, the air above it gets heated by conduction. The density of warm air is less than the surrounding environment, because of which it rises, creating a vacuum in its place. The cooler air from the sea rushes to fill the vacuum, which creates a cool coastal breeze. At night, the land cools off more quickly, which creates a temperature difference between the temperature onshore and that offshore. Because of this temperature difference, again a pressure drop is created, establishing a land breeze. Now you can see in this diagram that the land is hotter than the sea, and the air gets warmer and they flows, and this is the cycle is repeated like in this way. Okay. Now the important point is that how is wind measured. Okay, so it's a measurement is also important, that we should know what are the wind speed, what are the direction in which it is flowing. So the wind has a speed as well as direction. So better we should call it as the wind has a velocity, a wind has a speed and direction, so better it should be called velocity, wind velocity, because it's a vector quantity. So to measure this parameter, two different devices are used. One is the anemometers. So these instruments are a common weather station instrument which is used for measuring the speed of the wind. So anemometer is used to measuring the wind speed. Cup anemometer, hot wire anemometer, wind wheel anemometer, sonic anemometer, and laser dropper anemometer. These are the different type of the anemometers that has been made to measure the speed of the wind. So there are two quantity. One is the speed and another is the direction. So speed is measured by the anemometer, and there are different type of the anemometer are in used. Their advantage and disadvantage leads to invention of a new one every time. Okay. Now second is wind vanes. So these wind vanes, these are devices. They are also known as the weather vane, and this is used for determining the direction of the wind. So there are two important equipment, anemometers and wind vane. Anemometers provide you the speed of the wind, and wind vanes provide you the direction of the wind, that in which direction it is moving. Now let's talk about the cyclone and anticyclones. Now, cyclones and anticyclones are regions of relatively low and high pressure respectively. They occur over most of Earth's surface in a variety of size, ranging from the very large semi-permanent example described above to smaller, highly mobile system. Okay, and with that we will focus in this discussion. So common to both cyclone and anticyclones, these are the characteristic circulation pattern. The geostrophic wind and gradient wind models dictate that in the northern hemisphere, flow around a cyclone, cyclonic circulation is counterclockwise, while and flow around an anticyclone is anticyclonic circulation. So there you can see that this is the northern hemisphere, this is the anticyclone, so the flow is what clockwise, and if you look this cyclone, this flow is your anti-clockwise, that is counterclockwise spirals, and this is your clockwise spirals. Okay, this is for northern hemisphere. So circulation direction are reversed in the southern hemisphere. In the presence of friction, the superimposed component of motion toward lower pressure produces a spiraling effect towards the low pressure center and away from the high pressure center. So the difference between the cyclone and anticyclone is in the nature of circulation. Okay, so if we talk about the difference to northern hemisphere, the anticyclone's nature of rotation is clockwise, while for the cyclones, the rotation is your counterclockwise. Now let's talk about the different type of the wind, that in which periodic winds are more important. So the periodic winds, these winds change their direction periodically as there is a change in the season. So as the season changing the direction, you can say the direction of these winds are changing. The following are types of the periodic winds. The first one is the monsoon wind. The temperature difference created by the Indian Ocean, Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal, and Himalayan wall form the basis of monsoon in the Indian subcontinent. The important one is the land breeze. These winds blow from land to sea, carrying no moisture, and they are dry and warm. Sea breeze. These winds blow from sea to land, carrying some moisture. Now the mountain and valley breeze. Valley breeze is the hot air blowing from the valley which flows up to the slopes of mountain slope. In contrast, mountain breeze is the valley breeze, that is cold air from the mountain flow towards the valley. So these four categories, that is monsoon winds, land breeze, sea breeze, and monsoon and valley breeze, this comes into the periodic winds, and the importance is that their direction changes periodically with the season. Now let's talk about the wind shear. So wind shear is the change of wind speed or wind direction over a certain height. So in general, wind speed increases with height as you go up into the atmosphere. This is because friction from the ground slows down the air at the surface. The wind often changes in direction as height increases as well. Let's talk of an example. Suppose that you decide to climb a radio tower. Here you can see into the diagram, and you want to take wind observation as you climb up in the atmosphere. At the surface, you may notice that the wind is out of the southeast at about 5 miles per hour. After climbing a couple of hundred feet to the middle of the tower, you notice that the wind is now out of the your southeast at 10 miles per hour. And when you are reaching the top of the tower, you notice that the wind is out of the southwest at 20 miles per hour. So this is the wind shear. This is the friction due to which when we are moving from the ground, the speed of the wind is increasing. So that is wind changing speed and direction with the height. This is called the wind shear. Now if summarize for the lecture, we have seen that winds, what is the wind, what are the type of wind, and then I will focus about the periodic winds, that is the lead land breeze. These winds blow from land to sea, carrying no moisture but dry and warm. Sea breeze, these winds blow from sea to land, carrying some moisture. Mountain and valley breeze is the hot air blowing from the valley, which follows up to the slope of mountain slopes. Then we have talked about the cyclone and anticyclone. A cyclone is a system of winds rotating counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere around a low pressure center. The swirling air rises and cools, creating clouds and precipitation. There are two types of the cyclones: middle latitude cyclones and tropical cyclones. Okay. Now these are the some reference books that you can follow. And these are the questions for the practice, that is what wind means, what are the four type of winds, what is a strong wind gust, what causes a sudden gust of wind, and the last question is that state the difference between the land breeze and sea breeze. So that is today for the lecture, in which we have seen the one important atmospheric variable, that is wind. We have seen what are the type of wind. We have gone through the what are the periodic type of wind. We have seen that how wind direction varies with temperature and why there is uneven heating of the earth. We have also seen the cyclone and anticyclones. So that is done for the today lecture. Hope you have enjoyed this lecture. Thank you.